Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
We're on the record for our meeting tonight. I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the election of officers. Do I hear any nominations? Need a president and a vice president, or a chair and a co-chair, whatever we're calling it. What is it?
Chair and vice chair.
Vice Chair.
You're doing a good job.
I'll do it if you want me, but if you don't, I won't be offended.
I make a motion that Ransom Ellis be chair.
And do I hear a second?
Second it.
Any discussion on the motion? I'll call roll.
Ransom Ellis. Brad Bauer.
Aye.
Aye.
Alan Dixon.
Aye.
George North.
Aye.
Jeff Ressler. Oh, he's not here. Ken Sawyer.
Aye.
That's it? I'm
That's
still
it.
good. Vice Chair, do I hear nominations?
I'll nominate Jeff again. Yes,
He's not here.
We'll elect.
There you go. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll.
Ken Sawyer.
Aye.
George North.
Aye.
Alan Dixon.
Aye.
Brad Bauer.
Aye.
Ransom Ellis.
Aye. Somebody be nice and call Jeff and let him know. Next order of business is a public hearing. The public hearing PZ item 16-01. Public hearing concerning an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri vacating a park use restriction as to a portion of the Brookline Park in the City of Republic, Missouri. The drill on this is that we will hear this public hearing. Anybody that wishes to come forward and speak to us may. Then we will, when we've concluded all that, we will go into our rest of our regular session, and we will return to this item as an item of new business. So, does anyone wish to talk to the commission in this public hearing? You want to give background? Somebody give background.
Okay, I've done a handout on this because it's a little bit unusual from a normal vacation. This all started in 2009 when Drew University and the City of Republic and McLean Incorporated started negotiating for a purchase by McLean of 132 acres for their facility they've got out there now. And at the same time, the City of Republic, due to the consolidation with the former village of Brookline, had agreed to put a park in that area for the former Brookline residents. And the opportunity presented itself that 40 acres adjacent to the McLean property that McLean was purchasing could be purchased by the city for use as a park. Because of the terrain and everything, it wasn't really suitable for building anything, and kind of a three-party agreement. McLean was concerned that someone would come in there and build something, and so the city, as part of that negotiation with Drew University and with McLean, agreed to a restriction in the deed that said that it would be used for park or municipal purposes for 40 years, and basically with McLean having the right of first refusal if within that 40 years the city got an offer to buy any or all of that property. And if McLean did not want to exercise that right of first refusal, then they didn't have to buy the property, and they would agree to remove the restriction for use of any or all of that land as a park. And so we've gone through that process with McLean, and what's kind of unique about this is that the restriction says a park or other municipal purpose. Well, CU is a subdivision or Board of Public Utilities of the City of Springfield, so it's still going to be used for a municipal purpose. It's just not going to be Republic's municipal purpose. It's going to be City of Springfield through the through the board, the Public Utilities Board. So and Jerry can maybe speak to this if you have questions. The city has developed the land since 2009 on the north side of that property into a park, approximately, 17 acres, thereabouts, and really nice facility. The southern portion of that had a lot of work that needed to be done for land balancing, and we figured it'd be several $100,000 and just didn't have the money to do that. Well, in last year, CU approached the city, and they were also looking at 2 or 3 other pieces of land, but they preferred to talk to another public entity because that would not be taking land that could be developed for private purposes out of circulation by putting a substation on it. So they approached us and asked if we would be interested in entering into a sales agreement with them to allow them to put a substation on that southern portion of it. This would give them redundancy not only for McLean but for all that area out there, as well as some of the industrial park up in Springfield. And McLean, of course, wants that redundancy, and any other development that goes out there would like to have that type of redundancy. So during those negotiations, we settled on a dollar amount, and also CU agreed not only to the dollar amount but also advised that they would only be using 7 to 8 acres approximately of that land for the substation side of the 23 acres they were going to be purchasing. And so in addition, they agreed to lease back the balance of that to the city so that it could continue to be used as a park for the next 99 years. So it's kind of a win-win deal for we felt like, or the council felt like, for the City of Republic, because we got that land balancing done that saved us a ton of money in having to do that, yet allowed us to continue to use all but about 7 or 8 acres of that land for park purposes. And McLean liked that idea, so they have agreed to remove that restriction, and they're in the process of getting that documentation prepared and executed. And we entered into this sales agreement in November, and then, as is often wont, the CU was wanting to close on December 22nd, 3 days after we signed the sales agreement. So there's no way in the world that was going to happen. And they finally got all the information to their title company, and because this is kind of a unique situation with the language being in the deed, they made a requirement that we should, quote, vacate the restriction. Well, this technically isn't a dedication to a use as a park, but in a way it is, because it is in the language of the deed that it's going to be used for park or municipal purposes. I didn't want to get into a big long argument with them over whether or not municipal purposes allowed us to avoid that problem by having CU and City of Springfield be the new owner and still use it as municipal purposes. Felt like it was easiest just to bring it through the process of a normal vacation like we would do a street, and that's what we're here for tonight, is to see if Planning and Zoning will agree to that vacation so that we can go ahead and finalize the sales through a closing on the real estate. And if you have any questions for myself or Jerry, he can give you a little more detail.
Anyone else wish to speak in our hearing? Hearing no one to pat our feet to the podium, I will move on. We'll close that hearing and move on to the regular meeting. First item, approval of minutes of December 21, 2015, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion on it? Call the roll.
Ransom Ellis,
Aye.
Brad Bauer,
Abstain.
Helen Dixon,
Aye.
George North,
Aye.
Ken Sawyer.
Aye.
Passed. Go to citizen participation. Any citizens that wish to come forward and participate, telling us what we need to do or not do, we'll be glad to hear it. Again, not hearing anyone coming forward and not expecting it, we'll move on to old business, which there is none, new business. New business, PZ item 16-01, discussion and possible vote to recommend the approval of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic vacating a park use restriction as to a portion of the Brookline Park in the City of Republic, Missouri. Discussion.
I got a couple of questions, because that's out there, of course, in our area there, and I'm not discussing whether the park's in the right spot or not, or whatever, but just the park that's developed is not going to the City of Republic, is that correct? Or are they buying everything and just releasing back I wanna make sure I'm understanding what they're doing there.
The park, the city owns 40 acres.
Owns
They'll
40
be selling
acres there, correct.
approximately 23 acres to
the
city utilities.
So the other 17 acres, which is what is developed right now,
The city will continue to own.
the city continues to own that. Is there any way that the city of Springfield, they've given you a 99-year lease, but can they make can they change that somewhere down the line where they say, oh, well, we've decided we need that land now, and take it back and start doing something with it?
I'd have to defer to one of these two guys.
That would be difficult for them to do, because this is part of the consideration for the sales. We agreed on sales price conditioned on them leasing back the property to us. Could they bow up and do something like that? You know, I don't even know what the cost of a lawsuit is now, $150 or something to file a lawsuit and fight it out, but realistically, I don't think they have any desire to do that.
All right, we just want to be clear on what we're, many times there's underlying desires of different entities besides what always they tell you. And I'm just trying to see if we've looked at that, and again, that's out in my area, so I'm a little, I want to be sure that...
They couldn't do it without a legal fight, let's put it that way.
Or agreement.
Huh?
Or
agreement, yes, or agreement, which would be
I think
back to you guys and probably city council.
Far more likely
Yeah.
if they wanted it, that they would come and make a
Yes.
proposal hoping that you couldn't refuse it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Just to make sure everything is out in front of you, that 23.95 acres is divided into what they call buffer property and the actual site of the substation. Now, the actual site of the substation, which is give or take 6 or 8 acres, we're at use of that too through a license agreement until the substation gets constructed. And they think that might be some 4 to 6 years out. The buffer property, which is the remaining 16 acres or so, that's where we have our 99-year agreement. So we're actually getting use of the 23 years all the way up until the time of construction. And then those 6 to 8 acres will fall off when it's actually constructed.
Okay.
We have 2 different agreements for that, their 23 acres, a lease agreement and a license agreement, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm curious about the land balancing. What does that get you? I mean,
Sure, well, it gets out of our pocketbook. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a tremendous amount of fill and stuff that came over from McLean there. We had it on our radar, but that's about close to a $500,000 expense. It's really good for us in that, A, it solves a problem, because, there's rock and rail ties and everything you might imagine out there. It'll both help in the overall aesthetics of our property. Another piece of this, too, is part of the negotiation, which really, really helped. We talked them into putting a jumbo post and rail style fence all the way our property. That goes on Sawyer Road as well. That fence is identical to the one in front of Far Better Plumbing in Carnahan White, so that'll really help that property out there really stand out. And then one other part of it, too, is they've agreed to supply 8 electrical light poles at the time of our so choosing, if we want to put any sort of practice athletic fields out there.
that's what I was going to ask.
So we're able to work a lot of things in there, and they said yes to every single one, which is a positive, so.
Well, so then my only other question is 7 to 8 acres plus or minus. What does that mean? I mean, can they go up to 15? Or?
No. The footprint of the fenced area that is gonna contain the actual substation, they told us could vary anywhere between 6 to 8 acres.
And that's this red.
Correct. That is actually really close to where it's gonna be.
Okay.
Initially, just so everyone knows, the actual footprint of that substation was gonna be further to the north. We talked them into putting it to the south so they could handle all that dirt work for us.
Right.
It worked out really well.
So who decides the dirt work? Us, or do they decide what they're doing?
They do. They have their engineers working on that now and ready to go. That's a little complicated too. They were gonna be ready to go much quicker than even we anticipated, but this whole process has slowed it a little bit. So now, at our request, they're gonna wait till after we have an event out there, August 27th, they're gonna begin work on September 1st. But they will do all that topography, lay of the land and everything.
So I'm curious, why the sense of urgency from them if it's not even gonna be built for 5 or 6 years?
That's a wonderful question. I think they were just ready to go and ready to do
Just
something.
had something to do and
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
done.
I think that's the truth of it, yeah. Because it is gonna essentially sit there after they do the dirt work for anywhere from 4 to 6 years.
I always feel like, I'm sorry, I'm just being, it's just who I am, but I'm
Yeah.
just so skeptical of so many places when they do certain things. How do they get in and out of the, to their 6 to 8 acre site? I mean, are they building roads, what's their,
Sure. They have agreed, and that's one more part of the agreement, they have agreed to build a service road to service their facility. We actually have dual use of that road as well as we develop the other.
is it coming from the west into it there? Is that how they're coming in, or how are they going to, how do you?
Is that off of 97?
Correct. It's gonna be right through here.
So they're putting it up at this one
Correct.
here? Right. Okay. So really, like, for instance, this little piece of property really won't be able to do too much for the park, because you'll have a road going across there.
We will meander a wood chip trail through there and around the substation site. Actually, we're not too far right there from right now with our wood chip trail anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah. And they have agreed to make all those changes for us and some plantings and trees. I don't know if you're familiar with the substation at Battlefield and Glenstone, but long-term, that's what they want to let it look like, the buffer around that, so you won't notice it so much. It's right by Chili's, it's really even hard to know it's there.
Yes, I know where it's at.
But that's what they want it to look like long-term, but that's gonna be years of growth down the road.
Yeah.
Okay. How tall of structures are they gonna be putting in there?
Don't know the immediate answer to that. They did give us 2 comparisons, though. Gary may have to help me out, but the Brookline Station, what's the location of that?
There's a substation on the north side of Farm Road 156 west of Sunshine. You're familiar, down in a valley.
Yeah, down there
Creek
by Wilson Creek.
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about? Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty good sized substation there.
Right.
And they're probably 30, 35 feet of the air, maybe 40 feet on some things. Because you will have, I mean, that is gonna stick above, and I'm just curious on, what you could see from how far away.
I mean, you're obviously not gonna be able to screen those type of things that fill a long time out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, okay.
Does everybody get the location I gave? Just west of Sunshine, 156 where Briarwood Convenience Stores
Yeah.
and Springfield Farms
Yeah.
You
is
go
there.
off down there, down the low, down the valley there.
Any other questions? Comments?
As long as we've got, again, I told you on the phone, if it's in some other part, I wasn't, if it's out there where I'm at, I just wanna be sure that you've got it where that they can't come back and make something that changes totally what they had planned or how they're going about doing it, just so we've got it down in writing that this is, real clear on what they're doing. That's the main thing with me.
Yeah, Jerry, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think ultimately, even if they were to, in the future, utilize the full 23 acres, the city still retains the 17 acres where the park's currently developed, and but there would be the screening, and so I think there are some, I think there is some protection against what you're talking about.
Well, I can vouch for the general counsel, CU, since how he was my former law partner. And I think they're all trying to do the right thing and honest people. Like any organization, people come and go, but I would not think you would have a problem with CU. I could think of a lot worse people.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. If they wanna make a change, they're gonna come back and go through this whole process again, and we'd have to agree to it.
I'm not got all the words down or not, but I'll make a motion to approve PZ item 1601, recommending the approval of city ordinance of the city council of the Republic of Missouri vacating the park use restriction to a portion of the Brookline Park in the city of Republic, Missouri.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Ken Sawyer,
Aye.
George North,
Aye.
Alan Dixon,
Aye.
Brad Bauer,
Aye.
Ransom Ellis.
Aye. Motion approved, I think that's what you needed. Okay, hear a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion.
for a second.
I'll second. That was good. Slide over.
Ransom Ellis,
Aye.
Brad Bauer,
Aye.
Helen Dixon,
Aye.
George North,
Aye.
Ken Sawyer.
Aye.
Thank you all. Be careful going home.
Get up
Be
our-
careful walking down the sidewalk,
Yeah.
especially on the city part.
Yeah.
I hope my car will start from this distance.
Did you ever remote?